Good morning to all of you. It's a great pleasure for me to be with all of you, and I thank the sponsors, elets and banking and finance, and my respects to my dignitaries who are on the dais, Mr. Gupta, Padma, Mr. Rajgopal, and my friend Rajkumar, and all the delegates who are here. I consider it a privilege to be the opening batsman, but an era far behind than what it is. Maybe I take my role as Sunil Gavaskar giving a commentary here rather than being the present trend, because we are one generation behind. But it is an advantage to be one generation behind. You know how we transformed ourselves from paper banking to automation in banking and basic digital banking, and how we are going to move towards advanced digital banking and extreme digital banking. I think this passage of journey that we have traversed, I think we will be able to give you a better commentary. Whereas the younger generation, which constitute more than 65% of our population, who are less than 35 years of age, and maybe 50% of our population less than 25 years of age, will not be in a position to really understand what nitty-gritties go on paper and what algorithms are written in mind to transfer the operations in banking sector. Banking is not a very easy operation. Banking is a very complex activity. When we do our digital transaction, it looks very easy. But there has to be, maybe if I have to take the analogy of technology, I should say, whatever points you consider for cyber security, like safety and system security, at both the machines as well as at the systems level and user level, all these things have been done by bankers over the years in every operations that they have been doing. Maybe the days when we were operating through checks, you would have understood that the digital signature which we are seeing today were the real pen signatures that were there and the thumb impression of illiterate people, which need to be matched by another physical verification. And that was done by a human being. And today the verifications and other things, the systems are totally different. Maybe we have authentication systems which vary from PIN to biometrics and other things, scanners, all those things are available. So I'm trying to put this in perspective of having an advantage of an earlier generation person in technology as a speaker, as an opening batsman for today's program. See, when technology was introduced, Reserve Bank of India was in a position to take transformative steps to transform the entire banking industry to the digital platform, at the same time ensuring safety and security requirements are fulfilled. And today we have a bouquet of payment options for both individuals and institutions. First we started with a clearing house, then automating the clearing house, automating the banking system, then having core banking solutions. And core banking solution is a real foundation on which all your payment system rests. I think people should understand that anything in the world that transacts through the bank is through the core banking solution. And core banking solutions have been only within the bank. And today you have interoperability of core banking solutions of different banks through the national financial switch. So this is one step where we have made a village bank unit to become an Indian commercial bank unit. And from an Indian commercial bank unit, we made into an Indian bank unit, which covers the whole country. Now all banks are interconnected. If I go by the stats of NBSE, it's about 1,100 banks are on national financial switch. I'm just giving you a background, which every one of you will know, but you have to understand that the core banking solutions of the banks is the foundation on which all the transactions would revolve, and that would become a single point of contact with the banking institution. The vision document and the roadmaps of Reserve Bank of India and Government of India, if you see on digitization, it has very clearly laid down what benefits we need to provide it to a customer, to an institution, through the banking sector. Then slowly they moved into bill payment systems. How we can integrate the bill payment systems and bring it under one uniform format. And the means of operations of transactions, we have different modes today. It could be direct touch with the banker or an agent of the bank, or through internet banking or through mobile platforms. And there would be external instruments and machines, that is POS, micro ATMs, where you are in a position to operate through swipe cards, through your virtual cards. Maybe slowly we will come to the NFCs. Or it could be just an Aadhaar enabled operation. Just with a thumb impression, I will be in a position to connect everything. So seamless banking would possible. So the stretch of imagination alone will tell us where we are headed for. And you are all innovators, and I need not tell you what is the right solution, because once the problem is seen, you will provide the right solutions. But I like to tell you, we are thinking in terms of cashless banking or less cash economy. For less cash economy, we should always view how each instrument has been, each mechanism has been useful in the system. People have been saying there are 2 lakh or more ATMs, and ATM is one step towards cashless operation. I do not know how many of you will agree with that, but I do not agree with that. ATM is only an extended arm of commercial banks or a banking sector. I am creating another bank outlet and providing the feasibility or the ease of doing business for a customer. There are, I do not know how many debit cards are there in the system, but it is one of the highest, 95 crores, roughly around 95 crores, and 50 crores are only RuPay cards. And every bank, whether it is under RuPay platform or other platforms, settlement systems, they issue cards, debit cards. But 95% of the transactions of debit cards, only it dispenses cash. And just 5% of transactions is used for settlement, transfer settlements. That means there is no literal movement of cash. So I'm trying to put it in perspective. Don't think that when you issue debit cards, you are doing digital transactions. You are only encouraging operations of cash through some other mode. But if you see the credit card operations which are there in the system, 90% of the transactions in credit card transactions are transfer transactions. That is, which is from account to account. And there are very few people who take cash. 95 is in respect of credit card, and 90% in respect of debit card in cash transactions. I am sorry with the percentages. But one thing you need to understand clearly is debit card encourages cash, whereas credit card encourages transfer transactions. And you all know why credit card we don't use for cash transactions. I need not tell you why. And similarly, when you see POS machines, which are merchant transactions, all POS transactions are transfer transactions. So it becomes less cash, it encourages it. If you see UPI transactions which are there, it's unified payment interface transactions which are there. Again, it encourages cash transactions. But if you see the distribution system of these instruments, the debit cards predominate all other usages, as on date. There are certain regulatory criteria which needs to be fulfilled by banks when they want to come into internet banking as well as mobile banking. Because the Reserve Bank of India wants to ensure that the payment settlement transactions are reliable, transparent and accurate. Because that is very important. So the strength of the bank, the wherewithal of the bank, the capability of the bank comes uppermost in mind. We cannot be taking it very lightly about the regulatory norms or keep suggesting, why don't you open up to all banking institutions? Why not you allow every biller to have his own payment gateway? These are not possible. But if you see the Bharat bill pay system, and how many of you agree, I do not know, that this is going to be a transformational move for encouraging more of less cash transactions. Who has initiated this Bharat bill pay? I think we will all sleep if it has to be for the whole day, if there is no response. It is conceptualized by Reserve Bank of India and operationalized by NPCI. And Bharat bill pay today may not have a lot of billers. And very few aggregators are there in the field. So Bharat bill pay will revolutionize the whole thing. And similarly, the UPI, which is there under different forms, Beam, Aadhaar, and so many other platforms. And you can see the IMPS systems, immediate payment systems that are there, which are introduced by the banks. What are the major differences that are happening? I think we need to introspect and analyze. Because you are innovators, I am coming out with this idea of sharing with you the nitty-gritty of these systems. IMPS, when it is done on a bank platform, it changes its name to IMPS of ICICI or HDFC or whatever it is. When it is Beam, what happens? It loses the significance of who is the banker. And that's where we say it is a unified package. So the bank takes a back seat and the app takes the front. And you are creating a virtual screen between the account number and the name of the bank, and that is not shared with anyone. So we are able to bring in a lot of secrecy in the operation. And if every bank has to come into an IMPS platform, there has to be some back-end packages, in the CPS platform, they need to create a patch which intermediates and talks with their IMPS as well as the NPCI. Right? So every bank needs to have its own design, own patches to be created. If it is under Beam, one single patch for a particular CPS platform would do the trick. Only thing is, in Beam it goes into the background, bank goes into the background, it becomes much easier. Are you clear with me? Are you with me? Yes. Right? And when it comes to internet payment system through our client bills or power bill or electricity, gas or mobile, what am I doing? I am going to the internet, connecting it to the page of the concerned person, then linking it to my account and then paying it. Okay? Every biller has to create this particular environment in order that he is in a position to come to less cash operation. Whereas when I go to Bharat bill pay, there is a standardization that happens for each of the biller to come onto this, and it becomes an universal application platform. But there is a little bit of hesitancy in the minds of many of us to accept what is done by the government or the institutions of the government. To push, how many of you have RuPay cards? Okay. See, I expected this to happen. But if I say if it is Master or Visa, I think the whole room will raise their hands. See, actually RuPay, NPSC is working on a very, very sound platform. The stress testing that has been done on NPCI's hardware and cyber attack security systems, it has been very robust. But we do not have the wherewithal of pushing it the way the private sector or the international people do it. And similar is the case with the UPI, IMPS as well as our Bharat bill pay. But I am telling you, what has happened to the story of BSE and NSE? Just have a visual feel of what happened to our Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange. National Stock Exchange started as a professional body and they brought entire capital market transactions on e-platform. And Bombay Stock Exchange thought that they should follow suit, otherwise they would have no existence. And so Bombay Stock Exchange came parallelly, running close to NSE, And now all our capital market, debt market transactions are seamlessly, effortlessly done on an electronic platform. They are Indian systems and they are robust. It is acknowledged worldwide today. I think one day will come, maybe I'll sit on the other side casually watching after 5-6 years, and then you will all believe that NBCI platform will become the primary platform on which many of the transactions would go in India. So this is a visual impact I am trying to create, so that all your innovations, all your things, you will base it on the core banking solution as a foundation, and then go into the mainstream of NPCI related activities so that your permanence is established. Maybe I like to create another analogy. Before mobile banking, we had some SMS type of operations, and it was a very small time period in which that instrument was in operation. Can anyone say the name of it?
Pager.
Yeah. I don't want your innovations to take the phase of a pager. It should be something like a smartphone with so much of versatility that you are able to move from one step to another step to another step. And this is what is the flow in which we need to do it. Now people are going in for virtual identity creation. And even here I like to say, how many virtual identity we have, how many user IDs we have, and how many passwords we have in our day-to-day operation. Maybe someone has started writing your passwords and user IDs in a ledger, so that tomorrow it will be easy for him to get it back. But I think our effort should be so seamless that one single user ID and a password or a biometric identification or whatever it is, we should be in a position to operate all our activities seamlessly. And that is the vision with which we need to march on. And Bharat Bill Pay, you have a QR. What does QR stand? What QR stands for? That is our machine will learn this. Okay, machine will decipher the black dots and other things and then find out what it is. It is a graphical thing. Okay, quick response code. It quickly responds based on the code, the identity of this. And today we have got not just static type of QRs for different applications, we have dynamic QRs. And once you have a dynamic QR and the aggregator develops bills for all the billers, you need not do anything, you simply scan it and the money gets paid. And with one identity it is all possible. So for innovation and to take to the digital road, there are huge opportunities. I leave it at that as far as opportunities are concerned. People would have been thinking that when I talk about Jan-Dhan deposit accounts, you will all feel that I am pro-Modi or pro-government. But one credit has to be given, whoever has done it. We were able to create something like 31 crore accounts, new accounts in banking sector. And this was not an activity that normally a banker is supposed to do it, because it is not a commercial operation, it's more of a social sector obligation. But this social sector obligation has created business for the bankers also. See, now when we want to go in for expanding branch network is considerably very good. Maybe 50,000 formal systems and more in informal type of branch supports like banking correspondents and outlets. We have something like about 6 lakh touch points for banks in the country. Maybe 7 lakh villages. Government has done a human job by creating this financial inclusion phase 1, 2 and 3, whereby we are able to expand the basic infrastructure of banking across the country. Even in phase 3, which gets concluded by 2019, I think we will have every village with a population of less than 2,000, around 2,000, having a touch point of less than 5 kilometer radius, within 5 kilometer radius. With the size and the complexities and the connectivity issues that we have in our country, I think this is going to be a transformational thing. Already 95% of the area is having touch points with less than 5 kilometers. So if you have a seamless operations happening here, it could happen at that end also. So the market for this digitizing the entire transaction space and less cash economy is quite large. And figures are really mind-boggling if you see what has been achieved. In rural areas itself, around 20 crore new accounts have been opened. And if anyone have an opportunity to read the World Bank report on global financial inclusion, you will all appreciate that India is one of the fastest growing country where financial inclusion has been achieved to a greater extent. When we say financial inclusion, every person is having a bank account. And that is the first step towards so many other activities that follow along with the banking activities. And I was told in the inaugural welcome that there are a lot of innovators here. I will say that Jam Trinity is a platform which has been created, which is going to be adopted, used successfully. There are two unique things in Jam Trinity, that is our Jandan, Aadhaar and mobile. Aadhaar is unique in India and to the whole world, that no one can replicate it as on date. Mobile, you have the IMPS system, which is on ownership of only the Indian country and not any other way. So if you are able to have all accounts, all operations of the banking sector connected through the Aadhaar and mobile, this platform will become robust on which many things could be built on. I will not talk much on Aadhaar because there will be persons who will be saying that my privacy is being tampered with. But let Supreme Court settle the matter. But a unique ID like Aadhaar is what is needed so that we will be able to do seamless operations of all transactions. Just because 5% of the transactions need to be protected, I should not avoid opening up an opportunity where 95% of people could have ease of doing business. So with this, I say this is the transformational pattern that could have. But for future, I would say that there would be digital currency, there would be distributed ledger, crowdfunding will become, peer-to-peer lending would operationalize. Cloud computing will be one of the mainstay. People will not try to have their own data center, data recovery center and manage it with all cyber security features. They will all try to move to clouds. Big data analysis, artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain technology. These are the ones which would pick up as we move along. And coming to NABARD perspective of things, we are a player in the process of bringing prosperity to villages through our agriculture and rural development activities. So we are considered as the Apex Developmental Bank. So our balance sheet is around 4 lakh crores. The main operations are through government funding. We fund the government for a rural infrastructure. We fund the banks as refinancing agencies, and we have certain direct portfolios where we do the operations. But the development funds that we have, which is coming out of our profits or through the RIDF differential, that is the differential that we get under the rural infrastructure income, we try to put it into our development fund. And this development fund, we give grants to those institutions who need to catch up with the mainstream as far as technology or development or in case of climate change initiatives. And with this perspective, we have formed one financial inclusion fund way back in 2008. Initial corpus was provided by Government of India and Reserve Bank of India. And then subsequently we started plowing in our RIDF interest differential. And we have an outstanding sanctions of about 1,800 crores as on last year. And we have disbursed around 450 crores of that commitment. And still there are about 1,300 crores of committed expenditure that we would be disbursing into the banks through various schemes. And the most important one that we try to cover is to create financial literacy and digital literacy at the grassroots level. Because once I don't create the demand and the change in mindset among the people, moving to cashless economy or less cash economy is going to be difficult. So we create a lot of, we have financial literacy centers, many places banks have done it. So through them we fund for the program so that they are in a position to educate the masses and bring more transactions happening in banking and electronic platforms. Then we put in place payment and acceptance infrastructure so that more infrastructure is created where the cards and other things could be used, it would be beneficial. And we create demand side and supply side infrastructure, particularly through RRBs and cooperative banks. The core banking solutions you see in cooperative banks, NABARD had facilitated through the APS model for 201 cooperative banks. And today 376 cooperative banks are on CBS platform, and most of them are on the National Financial Switch doing the major transactions. Slowly they are moving towards mobile as well as internet banking. And we want them more as a sub-member and sub-merchant routes so that it will be beneficial for them, the cost would come down. So NABARD has been supporting all these initiatives of both supply side requirement infrastructure and the acceptance systems, then demand side creating the mindset change as well as the usage change at the grassroots level in the villages. So far the journey has been good, but still I tell you, there is a lot of unfinished agenda. And with all your innovations and with the commitment of the entire banking sector and the support from the government, I think we will march towards a less cash economy shortly, and the pace with which we are moving is a very good pace, and we need to maintain the tempo so that the transformation of Indian economy happens at the shortest possible time. Thank you very much for this opportunity.